So in this lesson, let us understand what is Node.js and what are the characteristics about the Node.js. Node.js is a server-side environment to create and run server-side programs. So what is a server-side program first? Suppose think about we are using some Gmail or Facebook or Twitter or an online shopping site or net banking site. In all these cases, there will be two types of programs, that is client-side program and the other one is a server-side program. And the network that we are going to use is a client-server architecture. That means there will be one centralized server plus a number of clients. Each client can be communicated with the server. So assume this is the server. And in this server, some kind of program can execute. That program is said to be server-side program. Whenever the program is executing on the server system, we have to call it as a server-side program. In addition to that, a number of client devices are connected to it. This is called client 1. There is one centralized server with a number of clients, and any client can communicate with the server. Client to client communication directly not possible. Indirectly through server only it is possible. That means the client has to send a request to server and get the response from the server. For example, the client 1 wants to send request. So client 1 is sending a request and the server is providing the corresponding response. Same like this, client 2 is making a request to server and providing the corresponding response. And client 3 also, client 4 also. Through request and response concept only, the clients are able to send request, the clients are able to communicate with the server. This is what we call it as client server architecture. And in this case, some other programs are going to execute on the client side. Those programs are called as client side programs. Whenever the programs are executing on the client system, we have to call it as a client side program. So generally, the client side programs are written based on the which language? JavaScript language. In any client, the programs are developed based on JavaScript language. And on the server side, earlier the people were using either .NET or Java or PHP, etc. Majorly three options available: .NET, Java, or PHP. The developer who wants to develop this server-side program is having three options majorly. He can go for .NET, means exactly in .NET he has a ASP.NET or ASP.NET MVC, using which he is able to create the server-side programs. In Java, he can go for servlets or JSP and other better alternatives like a Spring. And PHP also one of the other alternatives to create the server-side programs. Now in this list, the new entry is Node.js. The Node.js programs execute on the server side. And what are the characteristics of the Node.js server-side program? It is able to receive request from browser and send response to browser. Here browser means client. Any browser, nothing but the client, is able to send request to server. So on the server, some process can happen. Once the process is done, the server can provide the response back to the client. So in this way, the role of the server-side program is receiving the request from browser and sending the response to browser. For example, the client is submitting username and password to server. And on the server side, we are checking the username and password correct or not. And if it is correct, one message. Otherwise, other message, any one message can be sent to the client. So this exactly happens in Gmail, Facebook, in every login form. These two are the primary requests of the primary responsibilities of the every server-side program. In addition to this, it also performs connecting to database. That means storing the data into database, inserting the data, updating the data, retrieving the data. All the database activities are come under this third activity. Next, and also prepare some dynamic content. Preparing the dynamic content. What is the meaning of dynamic content? For example, once we log in the Facebook website, it is displaying the list of the posts. The list of posts is not a fixed information. It is a dynamic information prepared on the spot. At the moment when you logged in, at that time whatever the data available, based on that the data, the content of the Facebook posts will be prepared. It's not a fixed amount of data. When you log in now, it will display the posts as of now. If you log in after 1 hour, it will prepare the list of posts of as per that moment. So it is not a fixed information, it is a dynamic information. The information will be prepared on the server side. Simply the content will be sent to the browser. The information will not be prepared on the client, just only prepared on the server. Only the content is sent to the browser. So it is a responsibility of the server-side program to prepare the dynamic content of the web page. The same example applicable for Twitter website or Gmail or anything. So preparation of the dynamic content is responsibility of the server-side program. And also it can interact with the file system. Here file system means, suppose you want to store some data in the text file. You want to read the data from the text file. You want to interact with any other type of file, such as reading the data or writing the data. Or you want to create a folder programmatically. You want to delete an existing folder programmatically. These are all the tasks of the file system. For example, in Gmail, once we perform attachment, the attachment related files will be stored in the server file system. The files that you have selected in the client system will be copied into the server side file system. So that is also one of the responsibilities of the server side program. All these responsibilities are done with any of the server side programs, that is either .NET or Java or PHP or Node.js. So similar to other, Node.js also can perform all these side operations. Then Node.js has its own style or its own way. The new style we have to understand now. Okay, these are the main responsibilities of the server-side programs. Much like other, Node.js also can perform all these things. But Node.js handle this file interaction or database interaction in a different way, unlike a regular other technologies. So how it is able to perform? So let's try to compare how the database operations or file operations are handling in Node.js when compared with others. So other technologies such as Java or PHP or .NET, how these existing technologies are performing file interaction or database interaction. So first, a browser makes request to server, sends request to server. Browser makes request to server. That is the first activity. Next one, the server, that means a program is running on the server system, right? So that program I assume as a server here. The server will send a request to database or file. Suppose at that point of time you want to store some data into database, or you want to retrieve the data from database, or you want to perform inserting, updating, deleting. Otherwise you want to handle some file operation, maybe such as reading the file or writing the file. So any of these, uh, based on this requirement, we can just send request to database or file. The important point is while the database or file is being retrieved or read or write, the server simply waits until the operation is completed. So this is the main feature that we have to understand. So we have sent request to the database or file. While the process is happening, the server-side program will simply wait until the file operation or database operation is completed. Suppose the operation has taken some 5 seconds of time. During this 5 seconds of time, we are just keep waiting. Once the process is completed, then only the response will be sent to the browser. After completion of database or file operation, the content is that means response is sent to browser. So for example, you want to retrieve some latest weather information. The weather information is exist in the database. So how to handle this? First, a browser sends request to server. There is a program in the server side. That program is receiving the request and processing the request. As a part of this processing, the server will send request to the database or maybe a file if the data is stored in the file. So while the database operation is being read, the database is under its own way. Simply the server-side program will just keep waiting until the operation is being completed. Suppose after 5 seconds the operation is completed. After completion only, the server will get the latest content from the database or file. That data will be sent as response to browser. So here the main problematic point is simply server is waiting. So the waiting time is a waste, right? The server is not doing anything, any work during that 5 seconds of time. Here 5 seconds just assumed. It may be 1 second, it may be 10 seconds, we don't know really. It depends on very runtime situation. So the waiting time, whichever the time is, maybe 5 seconds or 10 seconds, we assume that is no lot of wastage. If the same happens for 1,000 requests or 20,000 requests, what happen? It will be huge time we are wasting on the server. To overcome this particular problem, the Node.js introduces asynchronous I/O operations concept. With asynchronous I/O operations, we don't have that waiting time. Let's see how it is done. Now let us see the same scenario, how it happens or handles in the Node.js. First, a browser sends a request to server. And one more thing, here after completion of the database or file operation, then only the server is ready to receive next request. Okay, here. So browser sends request to server. The server will send request to database or file. So these first 2 points are same as your previous. But the difference is server will not wait until the completion of database operation or file operation. Simply it receives another request and starts its processing. So the server is just will not wait for the completion of the database operation or file operation. Simply it will just receive the next request, whichever in the queue. That request will be started processing. So if you compare to the previous, in the previous case, the server was waiting for completion of the database or file operation. In the Node.js, it is not waiting. That is a big difference. So Next, after completion of database or file operation, the content is sent to browser. So this one is same as in a previous case. That's it. So at any point of time, server is ready to handle the new request. So particularly in case of database operation and file operation, if it is taking some time, during that time, the server is performing some other task. Assume the database operation or file operation is taking some 5 seconds of time. In case of Node.js, the 5 seconds of time also we will involve in the execution of another request. You don't waste it. That is what the advantage of Node.js. So in that way, the Node.js can provide the processing more faster than your regular traditional server-side technologies. So in that way, Node.js is better than many other server-side technologies. Features of Node.js. Node.js is built based on JavaScript language. Node.js is not a language. It is a server-side technology, or you can say server-side environment that is developed based on JavaScript language. Means earlier, before the introduction of Node.js, JavaScript was only for client-side development. The JavaScript was executing only on the browser. Beyond the browser, the JavaScript was not executing before the introduction of Node.js. But with Node.js, what's happening? Node.js brings the JavaScript to server side. Now we are able to use the same JavaScript language at the server side also. Means what are the concepts that we have learned in JavaScript, such as variables, operators, control statements, the predefined functions such as string functions, date functions, objects, and user defined functions. So any of the concepts, whatever we have learned in JavaScript, same as it is work in server side also. So in that way, any developer that he know already JavaScript, he is able to understand Node.js very easily because he is not learning a new language. Maybe he will learn some predefined functions. That's it. He is not learning a new language. That's why then when compared to Java.NET, it takes very less time and less efforts to understand Node.js. And Node.js supports asynchronous IO operations. Here IO operations means database operations or file operations. A Node.js program is interacting with the database. A Node.js program is interacting with the file. So the operations of database and file will be performed asynchronously. Asynchronously means while the database operation or file operation is being performed, a Node.js program is not waiting. That's what the meaning of asynchronous operations. That is by default enabled in Node.js. Of course, in Java.NET also there are some other ways to enable it manually, but Node.js supports it by default. From the scratch level, it is designed in such a way. Next, Node.js internally uses a JavaScript engine, which is also called as JavaScript interpreter, called V8 engine, which is developed by Google and which is already used, which is being used in Google Chrome browser. So Google developed the Google Chrome browser. Mainly for Google Chrome browser, they have developed one JavaScript engine called V8 engine. V8 is the name of the engine. The engine is like a interpreter. It is responsible to execute the JavaScript programs. It is responsible to check the JavaScript statements and convert into corresponding machine language and also executes it. Overall, the execution mechanism of JavaScript code is the JavaScript engine. Almost every browser uses its own JavaScript engine. For example, Microsoft Internet Explorer and Edge browsers were using one engine called Chakra engine. And so different browsers are using different engines. So uh, Google JavaScript engine is very popular. That is what V8 engine. And it is well known for its fast execution when compared with any other. The fastest JavaScript engine as of now is what? V8. And a Node.js internally uses the V8 engine because V8 is open source. And Node.js was developed by Ran Dahl under the administration of Linux Foundation. So Linux Foundation is like a administrators or sponsors of the Node.js team. The Node.js team has developed the Node.js and the team leader of Node.js is Ran Dahl. And next, Node.js is open source. That means the source code of Node.js is available online for free. You are able to download the source code from Node.js official website or in GitHub. You are able to understand what is going on already, and we are able to add additional code if you can. And Node.js is free to use. Next point is Node.js is cross-platform. That means it supports Windows operating system, Linux operating system, Mac operating system, and Solaris operating system. So majority of these systems are using either of these three operating systems only. Windows, Linux, or Mac is a well popular operating systems. In these three major operating systems, Node.js work fine, and there are very few people use a Solaris operating system. Even that is also 100% supported. So these are the important features of the Node.js. So let's talk about the code's content. So our codes will cover MongoDB, Node.js, Express, and Socket.io. These are the four modules that we cover. And here MongoDB is like a database. Suppose in combination with Java, generally Oracle is being used. In combination with the .NET, SQL Server is being used. In combination of PHP, MySQL is used. Of course, those are not restrictions, but well popular examples. So in generally, in most of the cases, in combination with Node.js, MongoDB is used. So we cover MongoDB first, and along with the Node.js core and advanced, plus Express.js and Socket.io. First, in the MongoDB part, we are going to understand the introduction to NoSQL databases and what is MongoDB, what are the advantages, installation part, environment setup, then how to create the database, how to drop or open the database, creating the collections. Collections are like much like tables, and inserting, updating, deleting, retrieving, upsetting, removing the fields, and searching the data with various conditions, indexing, embedding the documents means how to create the relation among the tables, and the backup and restore commands. These are the enough topics in MongoDB. Then Node.js. Node.js latest version 9, but maybe 10 also may be released in just 1 or 2 months. So either Node.js 10 or 9, both are equal in this case. So both will be covered. All the topics of 10 updates also will be provided if possible. And First, Node.js basics will cover how to prepare the first application in Node.js, and modules, how to export the module, how to record the module, etc. FS module means file system module, which you have to interact with the files, such as reading the files, writing the files, and reading the characteristics about the files, etc. Then also we can go for the events module. We are able to handle the event emitter. Okay, means we are able to create the custom events. We can raise the event at one side. We can subscribe to the event at other side. So next, packages means we are able to create one user different package. You are able to create your own package with a number of modules, and we can upload the package into the npm server. Plus, we are able to download existing packages from npm server, npm install, uninstall, update. These commands you will get in the packages chapter. And Mongoose is a package which is used to connect with the MongoDB database. This is much like a JDBC in Java or ADO.NET in .NET, using which you are able to connect with the database, MongoDB database. There you can perform inserting, updating, deleting, retrieving, etc. And the HTTP module is basically used to create the request response concept. Means we can receive the request and provide the response. We are able to handle the headers, request body, response body, and query string, receiving the parameters and working with the parameters, get request, post request, serving the pages, and working with the forms. Suppose sample registration form and login form will create. All these things we handle in the HTTP module. And Express Chase is advanced than your regular HTTP module. So here also you will be able to perform the request and response operations. And this Express will give you high-level API than your HTTP module. With Express, easily you are able to work with the request and response activities even better than your regular HTTP module. For example, in the HTTP module, you are able to create only one function for handling all the requests. But in Express, you are able to create multiple functions separated for every URL. For 10 URLs, 10 functions you are able to create. So that will give you more separation of the code, and will give you more clarity about the code when you read the code. And we are able to understand the forms module with the get request, post request, body parser, cookies, session, all these things. And obviously Ajax and CRUD operations we are able to understand. So that is inserting, updating, deleting, retrieving. That means CRUD operations you are able to perform with the REST API. And how to call the REST API from the client with a jQuery or Angular, we are able to learn in this part. And MVC, Model View Controller architecture, also you are able to implement through Express.js. On the client side, no, sorry, on the server side, we have to use the Pug, EJS, Mustache, Handlebars as a view engines to render the content. Much like we are just processing or passing some dynamic data to the view, and a view will display the view content in it. To print the model data in the view, we use the view engines like Pug, EJS, Mustache, and Handlebars. Pug is mostly used in real time. And finally, we will learn the socket.io package. Means we are able to implement chatting applications. So all these concepts we will get in this particular course. Okay, the steps to how to prepare first application in Node.js. First, we have to install the software called Node.js. After installing Node.js, you will be able to install Visual Studio Code. After that, you will be able to create first application or first program in Node.js. Then we have to execute the first program in Node.js. That's all. These are the 4 activities that you have to perform through Node.js to prepare first application. Let's demonstrate all these 4 things practically. The first one is installing the Node.js. So why we have to install Node.js? See, if you want to create a Java application, you have to install the Java software. If you want to practice some .NET program, you must install .NET software in your system. Same way PHP and others. Similarly, if you want to execute your Node.js program, you have to install Node.js on your development system. Even on the what I can say production server also, you must install Node.js. Node.js software should be installed both on the developer system and the production server also. So let's download the Node.js and let's try to install it. We have to go to the website nodejs.org website. Okay, we have to go to the website nodejs.org website. Here we have to click on the current version, that is Node.js 10.0.0, that is just recently released, just a few days back. The old version was 8 version, that is 8.11 exactly. It is LTS. LTS means long-term support. The long-term support means old version will be supported a few months forward. For example, after the version 10 released, even after 10 version released, up to few months, maybe 6 or 7 months, the old version is still supported, because some existing projects already developed in 8.11 version. So to give support for the existing old projects, they'll give some support for 8 version for a few months. In this few months of time, the developers have to upgrade their project to 10 version, so that all the projects will run on 10 version only. Okay, now let's click on this one. And before that, in case if you want to download for other operating system, or if you want to download the 32-bit version or something, you can click on other downloads. Once we click on other downloads, so Windows installer, Windows binary, Mac OS binary, like this we have different options. So here binary means it's not installable software, it's like a zip file actually. The zip file you are able to extract and place it in certain location on your system, and you're able to use it directly. So this binary you prefer only if you want to see the source code of the Node.js, and if you want to dig into the source code and you want to add additional modules for Node.js if it is not exist already. So normally for developers, we don't suggest this binary, and we suggest this installer version only. So here Windows installer for 32-bit and 64-bit, and Mac installer also available for 64-bit only, and Linux also we have 64-bit version, and other operating systems like a Sun, Docker image. Docker image is like a cloud server actually. So okay, other operating systems also available, but I prefer which one? Windows. So in this home page itself already we have current option, right? So that I prefer. So we have downloaded the Node file, Node version 10.0.0 64-bit version. So my system is 64-bit system. In case if your system is 32-bit system, you can go for the 32-bit version also, it works. So once it is downloaded, just click on that particular file, it will start the installation. Okay, here installation gets started. So it is saying welcome to Node.js setup wizard, and wait for a few seconds. The next button will be enabled in few seconds. Now click on next button and check the checkbox I accept the terms in the license agreement. Click on next. And this is the installer directory of the Node.js, that is C:\program files / Node.js. So you need not change it. So directly click on next. And then here we have to select Node.js. Already the necessary options are selected. We need not select anything. Already the Node.js runtime based on which you are able to execute your Node.js program. NPM package manager based on which you are able to download the existing packages, and some online documentation shortcuts, means some website shortcuts will be added, and Node.js path, that is equivalent program files Node.js, will be added to path of the system. In the system environment variables, the path will be added. That's why you are able to use Node.js program in any directory, C drive, D drive, any drive. So click on next and click on install. I mean to say here, no need of changing any settings, just keep the changes as it is. Click on next, click on install. So it will take just 1 or 2 minutes to install. Now installation is successfully completed. Now click on finish button. Now Node.js installation completed. So this first part is done. Now coming to the second part, installing the Visual Studio Code. The Visual Studio Code is the latest IDE or editor using which you are able to create different language programs. Means HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, Node.js, Angular, React, blockchain, anything we can practice in Visual Studio Code itself. It's very modern, free, and open source software. And it works in any operating system like Windows, Linux, and Mac also. So we can just go to Visual Studio Code. There is a website code.visualstudio.com, and we click on download for Windows. And in case if you want for other operating systems, we can anyway click on these other platforms. So as I want to use for Windows, we can just directly click on download for Windows. So we got the file like VS Code setup 1.2, what is the version, 1.22.2.exe. Once you download this file, just double click on that file to install. Now installation started. Click on next button and select the ready button. I accept that agreement. Click on next and keep the default path as it is, no need of changing, and click on next directly. And I select these two options. I prefer these two options, like open with code in file context menu and directory context menu, because if you select that option, what is the advantage? We can right click on any folder. For example, we right click on some folder like this, and we'll be having an option called open with code. So all the files present in that folder will be directly opened, or you can also open a single file also. So I just prefer these two options. So once I select these two options in the check boxes, click on next, click on install, and it will take a little bit of time to install, maybe 1 or 2 minutes. Now Visual Studio Code installation done. After completion of that, we can go to the third step, that is creating the first program in Node.js. We are going to use Visual Studio Code as the editor or IDE to create the programs. So to create the program, first we have to open Visual Studio Code. You can go to the start and there you can find V for Visual Studio Code. So in this folder, we have to click on Visual Studio Code. Once we click on this Visual Studio Code, so now this window has been opened. So in this window, we have to go to File menu, New File. Once we click on File menu, New File, you are able to create any program. That can be any program, any JavaScript program you are able to create. Notice, remember, the Node.js program is nothing but the JavaScript program running on the server. So all the language features of JavaScript 100% work here. For example, you are able to use variables, operators, control statements, arrays, functions, objects. Any of these language concepts you are able to use in Node.js as it is with no changes. Only one topic of regular JavaScript is missing here, that is DOM manipulations. Yes, Node.js doesn't support DOM manipulations. Node.js don't have any DOM because think about it, Node.js program is running on the server, not on the client. So what I'm saying is, if you talk about the JavaScript running on the client, since the DOM is only available at the client, so from the JavaScript program of the client, we are able to interact with the DOM. We are able to operate the DOM elements such as adding the new elements, removing elements, etc. But if the JavaScript program is running on the server, so in the server side there is no DOM. That's why it is impossible to perform DOM manipulations on the Node.js because it's completely executed on the server side environment, not on the client side. So except DOM, we are able to prepare all the activities, all the concepts of these can be used in the Node.js. So for example, I'm just writing where is equal to hello. It is a variable declaration in JavaScript. Same, it works with the Node.js also. And if you want to print it, we have a statement called console.log. So these are very typical statements in JavaScript. It works directly. And don't write any script, this type of tags not required. And don't write anything like HTML head body, this type of things. This is totally your HTML. No need of writing any of these kind of things in the Node.js. Directly you can write your JavaScript code straightly. After writing your JavaScript code, we can save this and you can save in a special folder. I created a folder for our batch like a C colon Node.js. So I will just show this. In case if your system is not having any folder like Node.js, we have to create it. So go to C drive, new folder, folder name Node.js. I prefer C drive. You can also go for a D drive, E drive, any drive, not a problem. Folder name or drive name is not a restriction. We can go to any drive, any folder. It's up to you. But I prefer C colon Node.js because it's easy to type even in the command prompt also. So because every time for every program when you're executing this, we must give this path in the command prompt. So it should be clean and simple name. That's the suggestion. Okay, C colon Node.js is a preferable name, and the file name is http server.js. The file name can be anything else. File extension should be sorry. I'm giving first .js. The file name can be anything, and extension should be .js. File extension is .js. So now we have created the .js file. How to execute this JS file on the server? In the server, we have to open our command prompt. Assume our system that we are using is a server system. Assume that. In the server system, we have to open the command prompt. We can also get it by typing cmd command prompt. Now in the command prompt window, we have to open that particular folder where your program is present. In our case, it is C colon Node.js folder. So we have to locate this particular folder in this command prompt. So just what will you do for that? cd means a change directory to which folder? C colon Node.js. cd C colon Node.js means you have entered into C colon Node.js. Now this folder and this folder is exactly same. Now you have this particular file, first.js file available. Once you're sure that the first.js file created properly in this location, then how to execute this? Node space the file name first.js. This command will execute the Node.js program. Now we can see the output hello world. That's it, we got the first program output. So some points you can identify from this, there is no compilation process for Node.js. Since Node.js is internally using V8 engine, V8 engine is not a compiler, it is an interpreter. The V8 engine will convert the JavaScript lines of program into the machine language directly at the moment of its execution. Means it's not like compilation first, then only execution starts. On this part, whenever some small portion of the program needs to be executed, first it will compile it, then it will execute it immediately. Suppose you talk about functions. So every function first will be compiled, then executed. when it is called. If it is not called, no compilation happens. This nature is also called as just-in-time compilation. Just-in-time means on this part of execution only the compilation take place. And that too, one more thing, if you call the same function second time, another compilation will not take place. Directly execution happens. If you call the particular function for the first time, then only compilation take place. So all these things are managed by the V8 compiler automatically, V8 engine automatically. So that's why there is no separate compilation process from the Node.js program. Directly we can go for node space first.js. Here first.js is the file name which you want to execute. So this folder name you have to enter here. This file name we have to enter here. Sometimes the file extension may not be shown in your system. In case if you uncheck this checkbox file name extensions, okay, presently it is showing, maybe in some systems .js may not be visible. So at that time also you are able to identify the file extensions by typing the command dir. See here it is showing the complete extension also. Even though file extension is not shown in the Windows Explorer, you will be able to see the file extension in the command called dir. So definitely if the .js extension present, it will work. And it is must, .js extension is must. So these are the points to understand about the Node.js. And one more thing, after completion of the Node.js program execution, automatically the program will end. We'll get back to command prompt. Suppose we are giving node first.js again. So the execution started. All these lines of code will be converted into machine language and execute it. Immediately, once the process completed, automatically it will get back to the regular command prompt. Let's understand the modules topic now. A module is a file in Node.js. So any file, any program file that contains the Node.js program is called as a module. Typically, it's a file with the .js extension. Assume we have some file name with the .js extension and we have written some code in it. Any code inside it, one or more lines of code inside the .js file, and that file itself is called as a module here. Its definition is very simple. A module is a collection of statements. It's a file with the .js extension. And a module can share its variables or objects or functions to other modules. So here is actual point that you have to catch. There is a possibility of sharing the variables or functions or objects that are created in one file can be shared to other file. That means from one module to other module, we can share the variables, objects or functions. Where the variables or objects or functions are being created in one module, where we are accessing them or calling them in other module, that is possible. But by default, all the variables, all the objects, all the functions are of one module will not be shared with other module by default. In case if the first module wants to really share it, we have to add it to the exports object, then only those items will be shared to the other module. So what is the meaning of this exports module? Let's try to understand. Assume we have two modules. Assume here module 1.js is one module, module 2.js is other module. In this module 1, we can create any number of variables or functions or objects, anything. Suppose we have created variable 1, variable 2, function 1, function 2, object 1, object 2. These are the set of items that we have created in one file. And here also some other things may be there. Here also we can create variables, functions and objects. But the point is, by default, no variables, functions of objects of one module are not accessible with the other module. The variables, functions, objects of the module 1 will not be shared with other module by default. All these are like a private to the same module in which it is declared. In case if you want to share it to other module, what we have to do, we have to add it to the exports object. What is exports? Exports is an object. Its name is fixed by default. So in the exports, we have to add the variables or objects or functions. Whatever we have added to these exports, only those items are accessible to the other module. For example, we are trying to add the variable 1 function 2 and object 2. We have just added variable 1, function 2 and object 2. Only these three items we have added to the exports object. In that way, how many items does this contain? 3 items, right? Variable 1, function 2 and object 2. 3 items are present in the exports. And the module 2 can access only these 3 items. How it is possible is, inside the module 2, we have to request the module 1. Hey module 1, please give me the variables or objects or functions, whatever you want to really feel to share with me, just give it to me. So like this, module 2 has to request the module 1. How can we request? By using require. Require means, yes, we are saying that it's required for me, it's needed for me. For example, you are saying that I need a phone, I need a bike, I need a car. Just you are requiring. So that is nothing but require. So require of some particular file name. What is the file name? Module1.js. From which file you want to get the items? That source file name we have to provide. In the module 2, we are acquiring, we are needing the module 1. So we have to specify the first file name in the second file. To access the data from one file, we have to specify its file name in other file. Suppose module 2 is requiring module 1. Once you mention this, and by default this file should be searched within the same directory, in the same folder, in the current working folder, that is C colon node.js folder, for example. Then what to do? We have to specify dot slash. Dot slash will say that this particular module1.js will be searched in the same directory, same folder. In case if it is present in a subdirectory, then we have to mention the subdirectory / file name. So suppose we have some subfolder like ABC. Here ABC is a subfolder, right? So we have to mention like ABC / module1.js. So if it is present in the main directory itself, module1.js, just module1.js enough. If it is in the subdirectory, subfolder name / file name. But dot slash is compulsory. Dot means current working folder. And then once you mention this, what happens exactly? So when you say required, what happens exactly? So just it'll go to this particular module1.js. Hey module1.js, someone is calling you, it'll inform. Then module1.js will not give its files, its variables, functions, objects will not be revealed to outside people. Simply module1.js says that please go to exports. Please go to exports. Then whatever we have done in the exports, that exports object will be given to a variable here. The export object will be given to the variable. So we can just provide a variable var space variable name. Var space variable name. So into this particular variable, the exports object will be added. So what are the variables, functions, objects that are present inside the exports, those members are accessible through this variable. We can access like some let's call it as a reference variable to avoid the confusion, because in exports also we have another term like a variable. So where some reference variable, because this reference variable is acting as a reference to the exports object of the module 1. So we can write like reference variable dot the variable 1, reference variable dot function 2, reference variable dot object 2. What are the members present in the exports, or only those members are accessible? Notice here we are unable to access the other members like a variable 2, function 1, object 1 are not accessible. What members added to the exports, only that set of members are accessible through this reference variable of the module 2. In that way, we are able to share the variables, functions, and objects from one module to another module. So overall, where the variables, modules, and where the variables, functions, and objects are created in one module, from where we are accessing them from the other module. This is possible through modules concept, exports and require. Exports says that I am ready to give. Require says that I want to use this. Here dot slash refers to current working folder and it is must. In case if you don't mention dot slash, it will assume that it's somewhat predefined in the Node.js library, and it will search in the Node.js library. Since that file name is not found in the predefined library of Node.js, it will be error. So dot slash is must. So let's see this practically. Presently, forget about this first.js, assume the folder is empty. Now I want to really create two folders, module1.js and module2.js. Forget about the previous file, just I am creating a new file. I am creating two files, module1.js, saving in which folder, C: Node.js folder. Same like this, one more folder, one more file, that is module2.js. So two files we have created, module1.js, module2.js. Now in the module1.js, what we try to do, we are able to create some variables. For example, company title is equal to ABC Software Solutions. So some name I just provided, and also we have provided some location, and also we have just provided some employees list. It is an array for suppose. So we have something called as Scott, Allen, Jones. These are the employees in that organization. And company turnover is equal to something 4.5 something. And also we have get branches details is equal to a function, and I'm going to return the branches details, branch 1, branch 2, etc. Okay, we have just two branches. And also we have the director details. One is the director name, Harsha, and experience 13. Okay, so these are the set of data what we have. By default, none of these are accessible in the other module. Intentionally, we have to provide these items to the other module. So how can we provide? Like just we can say exports dot, whichever the items you want to add, we can add them. For example, I want to reveal my company title and location only to the other module. So we have to specify company title is equal to company title. So here company title is representing a property of the exports object, and the right side company title is representing a variable in the same file. So we are just adding this company title to the exports object. Now in this case we can assume in the exports only one variable is exist, that is company title. Only that information is accessible to the other module. So now this the code for the module 1.js over. Now let's go to module 2.js. In this module 2.js, just we can say require. What do you require? Module 1.js required. We are loading something from the module 1.js. Dot slash is must, saying that we have to access the current working folder. In the current working folder itself, we have a module 1.js. And this require function will go to the module 1.js. Hey, module 1.js, someone is asking, someone is calling you. Then automatically this will provide only exports object. Presently in this exports object, only company title available. Only that is transferred there. That exports object is transferred there. So that object you will receive into the variable. That variable suppose m1. So to this m1, just the exports object will be given. What are the exports contains? Only one, that is company title. Only one company title is equal to the ABC something. Only this object will be given to the variable, that is what we call it as m1. This variable name can be anything. This can be any variable name, not a problem. Now finally the m1 dot, you will be able to access only one, that is company title. So company title we are able to print. That's all. So where the variable is exist really, it is exist in module 1, and we are able to access the same from the module 2. So let's execute this. Go to the command prompt and also provide a node, the file name, that is module2.js we have to provide. The file is what? Module2.js. Okay, so it is printing node module2.js, that is ABC software solutions. In case if you want to see the data types, you can see like a type of m1, type of m1 dot company title. Now we can see m1 is an object, m1 dot company title is a string. Okay, we can also add additional properties, whatever you like exports dot location also you want to share. Suppose you don't want to share your employees details to outside, so we will not add it. Company turnover also you don't want to share, so leave it. Get branch details and director, these two information we want to provide. So get branch details equal to get branch details. Director is equal to director. Like this we can add the required number of things to the exports. Only these 4 items are visible to the other one. Here there is an option like a split editor. We can just click on this. So you will be dividing the code into two windows. So you can watch them parallelly. So what you can say, what are exported here, only these items are accessible here. So the location we are able to print, location is Hyderabad. Get branch details is a function, so we have to call it. As it is a function, we are just keeping the brackets to execute it. Now also we can see director name. Okay, now we can just see the details. This is how to work with the module to module interaction. Okay, one alternative syntax is instead of writing this one, we can also write like exports is equal to an object. So company title is equal to company title. I mean, you already know object literal syntax, right? That object literal syntax we are able to use. Okay, like this we can try. Okay, this is nothing but object literal. This object literal as it is will be exported to the other file. So just we can compile and execute this. Showtime, okay. Colon we have to provide. So this syntax will not work. The only way we have to use like this. Okay, so this is all about importing and exporting. I mean exporting versus require. So in the further lessons we will understand FS module and other related topics.